Consider for a moment the most heavily fortified digital strongholds on Earth. We're talking, the networks designed to protect national secrets, the very core of government intelligence.
Right. The kind of places you assume are locked down tight.
Exactly. Now imagine these supposedly impenetrable fortresses breached, not by sophisticated state-sponsored actors or shadowy crime syndicates, but by teenagers operating from their bedrooms.
That sounds like a plot from some cyber thriller, doesn't it?
It really does. Yet today we're pulling back the curtain on two astonishing real-world cases where, youthful digital pariahs fundamentally challenge the very notion of government cybersecurity.
Astonishing is the right word.
This deep dive will explore the startling methods, the complex motivations, and the undeniable lasting impact of these surprising breaches.
So our mission today is really to unpack the intricate details of these operations.
Precisely. Understand the tools and techniques used, and try to delve into the minds of those who dared to pull back the digital veil on some of the world's most powerful intelligence agencies.
It's a story of infiltration, disruption, and, the unexpected power wielded from a keyboard.
It forces us to confront a vital question, really.
Which is?
What does it truly mean to be secure in an increasingly digital world when the most unexpected adversaries can uncover the deepest vulnerabilities?
A chilling question.
So, how did these supposedly impenetrable digital fortresses fall? Our first case file introduces us to a young man named Kane, just 15 years old, from Leicestershire, UK.
Okay.
What's particularly striking about Kane is that his methods weren't, typical hacking, not complex coding or zero-day exploits.
Right. So what was he doing?
He employed a sophisticated art of manipulation. It's known as social engineering.
Ah, social engineering. That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? It's not about breaking the code.
Not at all.
It's about exploiting human trust, human vulnerabilities. Gamble meticulously collected information, right? Sometimes public stuff, sometimes gathered bit by bit.
Yeah, and then used it to trick people, actual human beings,
into giving away sensitive data or granting access they absolutely should not have.
It really exposes the human element as, often the weakest link in any security chain.
Definitely. The person, not the program.
And Gamble became a master of this deceptive art. His reign of chaos, as it was later called, spanned about 8 months. June 2015 to February 2016.
8 months. And his targets?
Some of the highest-ranking officials in the U.S. intelligence community.
Wow. Okay, look, who?
His initial and perhaps most audacious target was John Brennan.
The director of the CIA at the time?
That's the one. Gamble started by posing as a Verizon employee, just gathering initial details about Brennan's internet account.
Just fishing for info.
Then, armed with that little sliver of information, he called back. This time, impersonating Brennan himself.
Impersonating the CIA director to Verizon, that's bold.
And incredibly, he almost failed. He couldn't name Brennan's first pet.
Huh. The classic security question.
But persistence was key. On later calls, he somehow managed to convince call handlers to change PINs, change security questions.
No way.
Yeah. And eventually, he gained full access to Brennan's Verizon internet account.
Okay, so once he had that Verizon access...
Yeah.
That sounds like the foot in the door.
It created a devastating domino effect. It let him access Brennan's AOL email account.
AOL.
His contacts, his iCloud storage, even remotely control his wife's iPad.
That's incredibly invasive.
Yeah.
And the information he got.
Staggering. The reports say extremely sensitive accounts referring to military operations and intelligence operations in Afghanistan and Iran.
Oh my God. Actual military and intelligence operations.
That's what the reports indicate.
Yeah.
And then he brazenly posted some of this sensitive information on Twitter and WikiLeaks, openly taunting officials.
They're taunting them. The audacity is just chilling, like you said.
But he didn't stop there. Gamble used similar social engineering tricks to hack the home broadband of Jed Johnson.
Secretary of Homeland Security, another huge target.
Exactly. He could listen to Johnson's voicemails, send texts from his phone, but then it got weirder, more psychological.
I saw.
He apparently bombarded Johnson and his wife with calls, directly asking her, "Am I scaring you?"
That's terrifying. Pure psychological warfare.
And at one point, he managed to make a message appear on their family television screen.
On their TV. What did it say?
Just 3 words, "I own you."
Chilling. That psychological aspect, it reveals this profound understanding of human fear and vulnerability. It's not just data theft.
No, it's deeper. Around October 2015, Gamble turned 16. His focus shifted again. Mark Giuliano, the FBI deputy director,
Another one. Same method.
pretty much, impersonated him, gained access to his home accounts. But with that foothold, he accessed something else, the FBI's law enforcement enterprise portal, LEAP.
Leapy. What is that exactly?
It's described as a gateway providing law enforcement agencies, intelligence groups, and criminal justice agencies access to beneficial resources.
So it was inside a core federal intelligence network as a 16-year-old.
Literally inside. And this included criminal intelligence, details of police officers, government employees.
Unbelievable. Did he realize how big this was?
Oh, he wasn't shy about it. He boasted, apparently. This has to be the biggest hack. I have access to all the details the feds use for background checks.
And the FBI must have locked it down immediately, right?
They changed the password, yes. But what's truly alarming is that Gamble managed to regain access by, again, pretending to be Giuliano to a help desk.
He just called them up again after they knew they had been breached.
Seems so. It highlights this systemic failure in human-centric security protocols, doesn't it? Sometimes the easiest way back in is just to ask convincingly.
Or demand, maybe?
Yeah.
That's incredible persistence.
It is. And the real-world impact was immediate and severe.
Like what?
Gamble stole and posted online personal details of Officer Darren Wilson.
The officer from the Ferguson shooting.
That's the one. And the Giuliano family. They were forced to seek intelligence agency protection. An armed guard was placed at their home.
So this wasn't just digital mischief anymore. It was tangible danger. Real people affected.
Absolutely. And his attacks kept escalating. John Holdren, Obama's senior science and technology advisor, his house was swatted.
Swatted. That's the dangerous hoax call that sends an armed police team, right?
Exactly. He accessed private calls and emails of Avril Haines,
who later became Director of National Intelligence,
and FBI Special Agent Amy Hess. On Hess's computer, he apparently downloaded films like Hackers and V for Vendetta.
Symbol's Choices.
And also pornographic titles. And he even changed an equipment list to use derogatory terms. The sheer breadth of his intrusion was just vast.
It's like he was exploring every corner he could reach.
And he didn't spare James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence at the time.
What happened there?
All of Clapper's home phone calls were diverted.
Diverted where?
To the Free Palestine movement.
Wow. Okay, so there's a clear political threat emerging.
It certainly seems that way. This was a targeted, deeply personal campaign against some of the most powerful people in the U.S. government.
And it culminated, you said, in February 2016.
Yes. He accessed the U.S. Department of Justice's network for several days.
The DOJ itself.
He obtained details of 20,000 FBI employees, various case files, including sensitive info on the Deepwater Horizon oil spill.
The scale is just hard to grasp. 20,000 FBI employees' details.
The potential damage from a breach like that is difficult to overstate.
So what was driving this 15, 16-year-old from a quiet town in the UK to wreak this kind of havoc?
What compelled him? Well, Gamble founded a group called Crack Us with Attitude, or CWA, in 2015.
Okay.
He told a journalist, "It all started by me getting more and more annoyed about how corrupt and cold-blooded the U.S. government are, so I decided to do something about it."
So explicitly political motivation, anti-U.S. government.
Seems so. He often used the hashtag Free Palestine, claimed his actions were because the U.S. government was killing innocent people.
Right. And this reign of chaos, how did it end?
Abruptly. February 2016, he was arrested at his home in Leicestershire.
At the request of the U.S.?
At the direct request of the FBI and U.S. Secret Service. They were deeply concerned over the sheer volume and sensitivity of the material he'd accessed.
I can imagine. So what happened to him legally?
In April 2018, at the Old Bailey in London, he was 18. By then, Gamble pleaded guilty. 10 offenses under the Computer Misuse Act.
And the sentence?
2 years in a youth detention facility. The judge, Charles Haddon Cave, called it an extremely nasty campaign of politically motivated cyber terrorism. He emphasized the victims would have felt seriously violated.
Understandably. And Gamble's own perspective on all this.
Well, this is particularly chilling. His defense argued he was on the autism spectrum, had the mental development of maybe a 12 or 13-year-old. After his arrest, he reportedly told doctors it was kind of easy.
Easy?
Yeah, and that he had little consequences of his actions in his bedroom on the internet thousands of miles away.
Wow. That disconnect. A very casual perspective that just doesn't square with the significant real-world impact.
Not at all.
So, while Kane Gamble's story really throws a spotlight on social engineering, right? The human weaknesses.
Yeah.
Our next case shifts gears a bit.
Okay.
It involves a different kind of digital mastery. And it began even earlier. This is about Mustafa Al-Bassam, a true child prodigy.
Mustafa Al-Bassam, tell me about him.
Born in Baghdad, 1995. Immigrated to the UK with his family aged 6. His fascination with computers started incredibly early, age 8.
8 years old.
Yeah. And by 9, he performed his first cyber hack.
At 9, what did he hack?
He was doing math homework, found an online calculator website with a security hole, and he discovered he could rewrite its entire computer code.
He rewrote the website's code as a 9-year-old.
Exactly. A literal child prodigy manipulating digital systems, apparently driven just by curiosity at that stage.
That's extraordinary. Did he get into trouble?
Not then. His skills progressed rapidly, though. At 13, he hacked his own school's web server.
His school? What did he find?
Teacher salaries, student grades. The school, maybe surprisingly, didn't really take it very well initially, but ultimately let him off.
Yeah.
They believed he just wanted to practice hacking.
That early leniency. Maybe it fostered this belief that boundaries were just, challenges to overcome.
Could be. He then sought out online hacker communities, only to realize pretty quickly that he was better at hacking than the majority of the people online, even the ones that were older than him.
So he finds his tribe, realizes he's top of the pack. Where does that lead?
This is where he stumbles upon Anonymous.
Ah, Anonymous,
Right.
the hacktivist collective.
Right. He quickly got involved in Operation Payback in 2010. This was retaliation against companies like MasterCard who'd blocked donations to WikiLeaks.
Supporting that anonymous ideal of free access to information.
Exactly. And then came something Mustafa calls his first taste of the real-world impact of cyber hacking.
What was that?
Operation in Tunisia, December 2010. Anonymous joined the Tunisian revolution against President Ben Ali.
How did they get involved?
Cyber attacks on government websites, exposing censorship, even providing hacking software to the Tunisian people.
And the outcome?
Ben Ali fled the country.
Wow. So a tangible, real-world political result from digital action.
A powerful one. And this definitely highlights those blurred, often volatile lines, right, between activism and illicit cyber activity.
For sure. So where does Mustafa go from Anonymous?
At 16, he co-founds LulzSec, or LC, with 5 others.
LulzSec. I remember them. They claimed to be different from Anonymous, didn't they?
Yeah, they said they were ostensibly hacking just for entertainment, for the lulz.
Right. But their actions felt more targeted than that sometimes.
Well, despite the stated motive of entertainment, LulzSec quickly became known for Operation Anti-Security, or #Antisec. This was basically a hacking spree targeting governments, organizations, exposing classified info.
And each attack grew more extreme.
Progressively, yes. Their first major target was H.B. Gary, an FBI security contractor.
Okay, why that?
H.B. Gary's CEO, a guy named Aaron Barr, publicly threatened to expose LulzSec members.
Ah, so he painted a target on his own back.
Pretty much. And here's where Mustafa's skills came in again. He discovered Barr used the same password from multiple personal and company accounts.
Oh, the cardinal sin of cybersecurity.
Exactly. Barr basically played himself right into Mustafa's hands. It didn't take long for Mustafa to log into Barr's company email and leak over 70,000 confidential emails.
70,000? What happened to Barr?
Severe consequences. Lost his job, received death threats, had to move house. But this was, like you said, just the beginning for LulzSec.
Who was next?
They turned their attention to InfraGard, an FBI affiliate.
Why InfraGard?
They declared war on them after President Obama declared war on cybercriminals. LulzSec engaged in pranks first, like calling the FBI pretending to be Obama.
Okay, that's kind of juvenile.
Yeah, but then they hacked and vandalized InfraGard's website, famously writing, "Let it flow, you stupid FBI battleships."
Right. And did they get data?
They got login details of InfraGard users, including a white hat hacker named Kareem Hijazi. LulzSec thought he held a gold mine of classified FBI information.
So they tried to leverage that.
They tried to blackmail him, threatened to leak his data unless he paid up, but Hijazi refused. He went public, exposed their threats.
Good for him. Did that slow LulzSec down?
Doesn't seem like it. This public defiance seemed to only fuel their ambition.
Leading them where?
To their biggest target yet, the CIA.
The CIA, what do they do?
LulzSec launched a distributed denial-of-service attack, a DDoS attack, on the CIA website.
Okay, DDoS. Can you break that down simply for us?
Yeah, basically it's like flooding a website server with so many requests, just tons of bogus traffic, that it literally crumbles under the traffic. It gets overwhelmed and just shuts down.
So like A digital traffic jam grinding everything to a halt.
Exactly. And that's what happened to the CIA site. The attack took the website and apparently all of the CIA's internal databases offline for 4 hours.
4 hours. The CIA's main website and internal databases.
That's the claim. It caused massive embarrassment for the U.S. government. LulzSec even tweeted about it, something like, "Good night, Twitter. The CIA anti-lizards will probably rise while we rest our shining power field arrays." Very theatrical.
A huge blow to the agency's public image, surely.
Absolutely. However, unbeknownst to Mustafa and the other LulzSec members, the CIA hack was already compromised from the inside.
What do you mean?
A co-founder of LulzSec, Hector Monsecar, known online as Sabu, had actually been arrested by the FBI after the InfraGard hacks.
Sabu was arrested before the CIA hack.
Yes, and to avoid serious jail time, Sabu became an FBI informant.
Wow. So he was working with LulzSec.
Including on the CIA hack.
While secretly feeding info back to the FBI.
Exactly. Collecting data, chat logs, the works. It turns the whole thing into this fascinating, almost theatrical interplay of hacktivism, betrayal, and law enforcement.
So Sabu eventually gave them up.
It seems that way. Mustafa's time eventually ran out. UK police raided his childhood bedroom, charged him with 880 crimes.
808.
That was the initial number. During a long interrogation, he famously refused to give any information, just said no comment to every single question.
Then
released after 24 hours. But the legal battle was far from over.
What were the eventual charges?
In May 2013, he pleaded guilty to computer misuse, eventually charged with just 2 counts of cyber hacking.
And the sentence, compared to Gamble's 2 years detention?
Mustafa got a 20-month suspended sentence for 2 years, plus 300 hours of community work.
Suspended, so no jail time unless he reoffended.
Correct. He was also given a serious crime prevention order, had to inform police about computer purchases, couldn't delete browser history.
But knowing Mustafa's ingenuity...
He found a loophole, as he called it. He just used private browsing.
A bit ironic, isn't it? So what happened to him after that? Is he still involved in hacking?
No, he's no longer associated with LulzSec. But his story takes this really unexpected turn.
Okay.
From teenage cybervillain to cybersecurity expert. Yeah. Mustafa went on to earn a PhD. His research was in scaling cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology.
A PhD.
And in 2021, he founded Celestial Labs, a Web3 security company. He was even named on Forbes' 30 under 30 list of tech entrepreneurs.
So he went legit in a big way.
Hugely. Ironically, he now advises companies and governments on cybersecurity, the very entities he once targeted.
And his net worth?
Estimated between $5 and $10 million.
5 to 10 million, quite a journey. From digital rebellion to mainstream tech success.
It really is.
So as we connect the threads of these two, just astonishing cases, a clear pattern emerges, doesn't it?
Yeah, you have Kane Gamble and Mustafa Al-Bassam, both young, incredibly digitally skilled individuals.
Driven by different motivations, maybe? Political, anti-establishment for Gamble, maybe more entertainment or notoriety initially for Al-Bassam?
Perhaps, but both were able to penetrate high-level government systems.
And we see that stark contrast in their methods, too.
Right. Gamble relied almost entirely on social engineering.
Yeah.
Exploiting the human element, the deception.
While Al-Bassam, though he used some social engineering too, ultimately employed more technical methods. That powerful DDoS attack on the CIA.
And that difference really highlights something crucial about cybersecurity, doesn't it? It isn't just about code. It's profoundly about people and their vulnerabilities, both human weaknesses and systemic flaws.
Absolutely. And the stakes in both cases were just astronomically high.
Exposure of incredibly sensitive intelligence ops, theft and public posting of personal data.
And those real-world consequences. Armed SWAT teams, officials needing physical protection. These weren't harmless pranks. They had profound, dangerous impacts.
Which brings us to that critical question of, well, justice and redemption, and the seemingly very different paths taken.
Yeah. One teenager, Kane Gamble, gets 2 years detention, a criminal record, condemned by a judge for cyber terrorism.
And the other, Mustafa Al-Bassam, co-founder of a group that took down the CIA's website, goes on to become a millionaire cybersecurity consultant, advising the very governments he once targeted.
So what defines a hacker in these contexts? Is it just the act itself, the intent behind it, or the eventual outcome, how they choose to use their skills later on?
It's a really tricky question.
Yeah.
No easy answers.
And that leads us to the broader kind of lingering question of digital freedom versus cybercrime.
Yeah.
Where do we as a society draw that line, especially when individuals believe they're acting for a cause, even if those actions disrupt national security?
It's a constant tension in the digital age.
These deep dives into the lives of Kane and Mustafa Al-Bassam leave us with a profound, maybe unsettling thought.
Which is?
In an era where digital power can be wielded by anyone with a keyboard and enough ingenuity, are these figures criminals who simply got caught? Or are they perhaps a modern-day form of digital resistance, exposing vulnerabilities, challenging the status quo?
It's a provocative way to frame it. Criminal or digital resistance fighter.
What does their story tell us about the true nature of power in the digital age? And how do we as individuals, as a society, navigate these ever-shifting boundaries of digital ethics, security, and freedom?